The Amazon is not a peaceful paradise, but a brutal battlefield for survival, especially in the invisible chemical war between plants and leaf-eating creatures. Trees use chemical toxins to protect their leaves, yet at the same time, they produce delicious, nutritious fruits to attract animals that help disperse their seeds. Representative animals and their adaptations. Harpy eagle, the apex predator of the canopy, powerful enough to hunt howler monkeys, and known to use leaves containing chemicals to repel insects from its nest. Capuchin monkeys and cock-of-the-rock birds. These frugivores play a crucial role in seed dispersal. The abundance of fruit allows male cock-of-the-rock birds to spend much of their time engaging in elaborate courtship displays. Leafcutter ants, masterful farmers of the rainforest. They don't eat the leaves directly. Instead, they carry them back to their underground nests to cultivate a special symbiotic fungus, which they feed on. This ingenious, mutualistic relationship allows them to bypass the plant's chemical defenses. Sloth. Adapted to a low nutrient diet by living an extremely slow-paced lifestyle to conserve energy. They rely on their keen sense of smell to select the least toxic leaves to eat. Seasonal transformations of the Amazon. Rainy season and floods. The rainy season dramatically transforms the forest. Rivers swell, submerging 250,000 square kilometers of jungle, creating an amphibious world. Adaptations to flooding. Animals face new challenges. Leafcutter ants become disoriented, and sloths must swim between trees. Fish move into the flooded forest, bringing both new opportunities and dangers. Example, rivulus fish preyed upon by erythrinus fish disguised as females. Arowanas hunting prey from tree branches. Pirarucu fish, a giant freshwater fish and a true living fossil that must surface to breathe air, dominating the deep waters of the flooded forest. As the waters recede, many fish become trapped in isolated pools, turning into easy prey for other animals. The cycle of dry and wet seasons shapes all life in the Amazon, from the breeding rhythms of the pirarucu to the precise moment when young harpy eagles leave the nest. All life in the Amazon rainforest is intricately interconnected through relationships of competition, symbiosis, and a deep reliance on nature's harsh seasonal cycles. It is an unending struggle, yet also a perfect symphony of adaptation. Have you ever stood before a forest and felt small? A feeling of awe, mixed with a touch of fear. But what if I told you that what you see is just a curtain? That behind that serene green lies the greatest battle on Earth, unfolding every second, every minute. A war without gunfire, without screams, fought with the most sophisticated weapons, scents, poisons, and sweet deceptions. This is not a war between nations. This is the war of life itself, and its battlefield is here, the Amazon. Welcome back to Nature Realm, the animal world. Today, we won't just look at the Amazon, we'll unmask it. We're diving deep into the most complex biological machine on Earth to uncover secrets it has guarded for millions of years. We'll witness brutal kings ruling the skies, underground empires thriving in silence, master tricksters lurking beneath the water's surface, and tragic love stories decided by the fate of a single fruit. This is a tale of a world built on deception and cooperation, of poisons and antidotes, of sacrifice and rebirth. Prepare yourself, because today's journey will forever change the way you see a leaf, an ant, or a single drop of rain. This is the invisible war of the Amazon. When we talk about the Amazon, the first image that comes to mind is a tropical paradise. An endless green ocean, the lungs of the planet, where life flourishes in perfect harmony. It's a beautiful picture, and it's completely wrong. The truth is, the Amazon is one of the harshest places on Earth. Here, life isn't granted, it's fought for. Every organism, from the tallest tree to the tiniest insect, is locked in a deadly game against millions of rivals. And to survive, they must become masters of chemical warfare, deception, and psychological strategy. Take a look at this vast green blanket. It spans nearly 7 million square kilometers, larger than the entire European Union. But it is far from uniform. There are the terra firme forests, literally firm ground, which sit on high land and never flood. These are ancient, stable strongholds. Then there are the floodplain forests, known as Várzea and Igapó, stretching along thousands of rivers and lakes. Their world is turned upside down every single year. This division creates distinct battlegrounds, each demanding its own survival strategies. But beneath it all lies a single unifying war, a fundamental conflict that shapes every life form here. The war between the plants and the leaf eaters. To a tree, leaves are power plants, essential engines of photosynthesis and life. Losing them is like a factory losing both its machinery and workers. So, over millions of years of evolution, Amazonian plants have transformed themselves into master chemists. They can't run. They can't fight back with claws. Their weapons are invisible. They lace their leaves with a chemical arsenal. Tannins that make the leaves hard to digest, alkaloids that induce hallucinations or paralysis, and cyanide, which can kill in moments. Each leaf becomes a carefully disguised poison pill. This is the central paradox of the Amazon, a world that appears lush and abundant, yet most of it is inedible. It's a grand feast, locked inside a box of poison. And it is this very paradox that has driven the evolution of some of the most astonishing behaviors and relationships on Earth, the ones we are about to uncover. Every morning, as the first rays of sunlight pierce through the canopy, the symphony of life and death begins anew. And rising above it all, one cry echoes through the jungle, a declaration of dominance. These are the howler monkeys. Their calls, audible from up to 5 kilometers away, are not cheerful morning songs. They are territorial declarations, warnings to rival troops. This land, these leaves, belong to us. They are the loud landlords of the jungle. But in the Amazon, every sound is a signal, and their howls reach more than just the ears of fellow monkeys. They reach the ears of a predator, a killer with piercing eyes, silently watching from above, a tyrant of the skies. This is the harpy eagle. If the Amazon has a king, this is it. This is not just a bird. It is a predatory machine honed to perfection. With a wingspan of over 2 meters, it may not be the largest eagle, but it is certainly the strongest. Look at its wings, broad and rounded, an aerodynamic design that doesn't soar high above, but weaves through the dense jungle canopy with lethal agility. It's like a stealth fighter jet, engineered for combat in a crowded city. but its true weapon lies in its legs. The harpy eagle's legs are as thick as a grown man's wrist, and its talons, they're larger than those of a grizzly bear. Their grip is powerful enough to crush a monkey's skull or pierce the shell of a sloth. It can effortlessly lift prey as heavy as itself and fly away like it's nothing. To the howler monkeys below, the harpy eagle is a constant nightmare. They may rule the treetops, but the harpy is the god of death, descending from above. A moment of carelessness, a shadow passing overhead, and one of them vanishes forever. This fear shapes their entire existence, where they feed, when they move, and the ever-present need to keep one eye on the sky. But this time, its target is not a monkey. It dives with talons extended, but what it seizes is merely a green branch. A strange move at first glance. Why would a top predator waste precious energy on a bundle of leaves? It carries the leafy branch back to its nest, a massive structure perched atop one of the tallest trees in the forest, perhaps a towering kapok or do-rei tree. This nest can be as large as a double bed and is reused year after year. And here, we glimpse another layer of Amazonian intelligence. The eagle doesn't bring back fresh branches for construction or decoration. No. Scientists believe this behavior is a form of self-medication, or more precisely, a tactical deployment of chemical warfare. In the warm and humid nest, filled with leftover food, it's a perfect breeding ground for parasites, flies, mosquitoes, and disease-causing microorganisms. These unwelcome guests can pose serious threats to the vulnerable chicks of the harpy eagle. So what is the eagle doing by continuously bringing fresh leafy branches back to the nest? It's laying down a layer of natural insecticide. As the leaves wilt, they release volatile compounds into the air, creating an environment that's toxic to insects but safe for the chicks. The king of the sky is not just a hunter, it's also a chemist, a pharmacist, who has learned to harness the forest's chemical arsenal for its own benefit. This simple act reveals a deeper truth. In the Amazon, nothing is wasted. Everything serves a purpose. Every relationship holds meaning, even the connection between a predatory bird and poisonous leaves. The tree's chemical warfare has unintentionally armed the enemy of their enemies, a complex circle of adaptation. While leaves are deadly traps, fruits are invitations. This is the second half of the plant's survival strategy. If leaves are treasures to be protected, seeds are the future to be spread. And to do that, plants need messengers. They pay these messengers with a universal currency: sugar. Fruit, sweet, nutritious packets of energy designed to be as enticing as possible. Take a look at these tamarin monkeys. They are expert frugivores. As they feast on these figs, they're providing an invaluable service. Fig seeds are tiny and pass through the monkey's digestive system unharmed. Hours later, far from the mother tree, these seeds are excreted, packaged in a perfect bundle of natural fertilizer. It's a perfect deal. The monkey gets a high-energy meal. The tree gets a free gardener, helping its offspring take root in new territory, away from the competition and diseases that cluster around the parent. Thousands of plant species in the Amazon rely on these furry gardeners to survive. But fruit abundance doesn't just shape the relationship between plants and animals. It also molds the social structures and even the sex lives of some of the rainforest's strangest residents. We often think of lions or bears as the great consumers, but in the Amazon, the most voracious plant eater isn't a large vertebrate. It's this tiny creature, the leafcutter ant. Don't let its size fool you. This is one of the most complex societies on Earth, second only to humans. And they are among the fiercest enemies of the forest's plant life. Watch how it works. Its mandibles vibrate 1,000 times per second, turning them into biological chainsaws, slicing through leaves with ease. But here's the twist. These worker ants don't eat the leaves they cut. They know the foliage can be toxic. Instead, they're harvesting raw materials for an even more astonishing industry: They carry pieces of leaves back to the nest, each fragment weighing up to 20 times their own body weight. Imagine you or I hauling a car on our backs. And they don't just travel a few meters. These ants can venture hundreds of meters from their colony, equivalent to us walking 25 kilometers to work, carrying a car, and then trekking 25 kilometers back home. To accomplish this feat, they rely on a flawless navigation system. As they move, they secrete a chemical trail from their abdomen called pheromones. It's a scented pathway. This pheromone is so potent that just a few billionths of a gram are enough to guide an entire column of ants. It's a remarkably efficient chemical GPS, but the journey is riddled with danger. As if the burden weren't enough, smaller ants, called minims, often ride atop the leaf fragments. They're not hitching a ride, they're bodyguards. Their job is to protect the larger worker ants from an aerial threat, parasitic flies. These flies attempt to lay their eggs on the workers' heads. The tiny defenders use their jaws to fend them off. In a world full of lightning-fast predators and brutal competition, one creature has chosen a completely different path, a philosophy of life in total contrast. The sloth. The sloth is the embodiment of slowness. It's famous for laziness, but that's a misunderstanding. Its slowness is not due to laziness. It's a masterful survival strategy. The root of this infamous indifference lies in its diet. Leaves. As we've seen, leaves provide very little nutritional value and are often toxic. To digest a meal of leaves, the sloth requires an incredibly complex digestive system and a four-chambered stomach, much like a cow. This process can take up to a month. With such a scarce and hard-to-digest energy source, the sloth must conserve every bit of energy. It does so by maintaining an extremely low metabolic rate, only about 40% of what other mammals its size use. Its body temperature is also low and variable. Essentially, the sloth lives life in energy-saving mode. This sloth mother is teaching her baby the most important survival lesson of all: how to choose the right leaves to eat. She can't eat indiscriminately. Using her sensitive sense of smell, she sniffs out young, tender leaves, ones that are lowest in toxins. The baby learns by tasting bits of leaves from its mother's mouth, memorizing the scent and shape of safe foliage. It's knowledge passed down from generation to generation. This slow-living strategy offers another surprising advantage: camouflage. In the rainforest, movement is the easiest way to attract a predator's attention. A harpy eagle can spot a moving monkey from a great distance, but the sloth, spending up to 20 hours a day resting and sleeping, is nearly invisible. It looks more like a termite nest or a bundle of dead leaves than a living creature. And its camouflage reaches an extraordinary level. The sloth's long, coarse fur isn't just a coat, it's a mobile ecosystem. Tiny grooves in the hair trap rainwater, creating the perfect environment for a unique species of green algae to grow. This algae gives the sloth a greenish hue, helping it blend perfectly into the forest canopy. But the relationship goes even deeper. Some species of moth live exclusively in sloth fur. These moths lay their eggs only when the sloth makes its weekly trip down to the forest floor to defecate, a behavior still mysterious to scientists. There, the moths deposit eggs into the dung. The larvae feed on it, mature into moths, and fly back up to find another sloth host. A sloth isn't just an animal. It's a hanging garden, a floating island, carrying with it an entire micro-community. It's a testament to how life can find a foothold in the most unexpected places. By slowing everything down, the sloth has created its own world, its own rhythm, amidst the chaos and cruelty of the Amazon. While the sloth lives a quiet, motionless life, high above, a new cycle of predation begins. The harpy eagle chick has hatched. It is fragile and completely dependent on its parents. Over the next 5 months, it will grow to match the enormous size of its mother and father. During that time, the parents will tirelessly bring back monkeys, sloths, and even fresh green branches to keep the nest clean. But not just any tree can support such a massive nest and a family of apex predators. They need the giants of the rainforest. And one of the harpy eagle's favorite nesting sites is the Brazil nut tree. The Brazil nut tree is a true king of the rainforest. It can soar up to 50 meters tall and live for over 500 years. And everything about it is colossal, even its fruit. The fruit of the Brazil nut tree, technically a capsule, can weigh over 2 kilograms. Imagine a solid wooden coconut falling from the height of a 15-story building. There have been documented cases of people in the forest being struck and killed by these falling pods. Its shell is as hard as stone. For a long time, it was a mystery. How could this tree possibly reproduce? What kind of animal was strong enough to crack open this natural safe and release the seeds inside? The answer came from a surprisingly humble creature, the agouti. The agouti has a secret weapon: chisel-sharp incisors and powerful jaws. It spends considerable time and energy patiently gnawing through the rock-hard shell until it creates an opening and retrieves the nutritious seeds inside. But here's where the real magic happens. The agouti has a behavior much like that of a squirrel. It eats a few nuts right away, but buries the rest in various locations across its territory for times when food is scarce. And fortunately for the tree, the agouti's memory isn't perfect. It forgets many of its buried treasures. These forgotten seeds, planted at the perfect depth and safely hidden from other seed-eating animals, are given the opportunity to germinate and grow into towering new Brazil nut trees. This is one of nature's most iconic examples of mutualism. The Brazil nut tree has effectively hired a gardener, paid handsomely in rich seeds, who not only cracks its pods but also sows its seeds. In fact, the relationship is so tightly bound that the Brazil nut tree can hardly reproduce without the agouti. But the story of interdependence doesn't stop there. It gets even more intricate. For the Brazil nut tree to bear fruit, its flowers must be pollinated, and the flower's unique, complex structure requires a very specific pollinator, the female orchid bee, which is large and strong enough to force open the tightly coiled petals. To attract these female bees, the males must first become attractive. They do this by collecting aromatic compounds from a variety of orchid species throughout the forest, blending them into their own unique cologne to entice mates. So, here's the chain of events. No orchids means no perfume for male bees. No perfume, no female bees. No female bees, no pollination for the Brazil nut tree. No pollination, no fruit. No fruit, no food for the agouti. No agouti, no seed dispersal. And without new Brazil nut trees, the harpy eagle may lose one of its favored nesting sites, a fragile, complex web of dependence stretching across species, centered around a single tree. And the story doesn't end there. After the agouti has finished its meal, the empty Brazil nut shells still serve one final purpose. They transform into tiny ponds, miniature nurseries on the forest floor. And they become the perfect home for another creature. This is a poison dart frog. Its bright, vivid colors aren't just for show. They're a warning, known as aposematism. It's telling the world, I'm beautiful and I'm extremely toxic, don't eat me. But the frog doesn't create the poison itself. It gets it from its prey, tiny ants and mites. And where do these insects get the toxins? From the leaves of the plants they feed on. The frog eats the insects and concentrates their toxins in its skin, turning itself into a walking biological weapon. Once again, the chemical warfare of plants echoes up the food chain. The female frog lays her eggs on moist leaves on the forest floor. The male stays behind, guarding them and keeping them clean. When the eggs hatch into tadpoles, something incredible happens. The father carries his young on his back. The tadpoles cling to the mucus on his skin. He makes multiple trips, carrying each tadpole one by one to a safe home. That home? The hollowed-out, water-filled shell of a Brazil nut fruit. Each shell becomes a private nursery, protecting the tadpole from predators that lurk in larger pools. The father checks each tiny pond to ensure there's enough food for his offspring. Months later, from these bark-clad fortresses, tiny poison dart frogs emerge, ready to begin lives of their own. An entire miniature ecosystem, a multi-generational survival story, all unfolding inside and around a single product of the Brazil nut tree. A tree whose survival, ironically, depends on a forgetful rodent. This is the essence of the Amazon, an endless web of unexpected connections. Every battle, every relationship, every survival strategy we've witnessed so far has unfolded against a relatively stable backdrop. But in the Amazon, nothing is truly stable. There's a force even greater than the forest itself, a force that can reshape the entire world. That force is weather. The Amazon is a rainforest. Each year it receives up to 2.5 meters of rainfall, and most of that falls during a single season, the wet season. Here's an astonishing fact. The forest creates half of its own rainfall. Trillions upon trillions of leaves constantly release water vapor into the air through a process called transpiration. This vapor rises, forms massive clouds, and returns to the earth as torrential rain. The forest is a giant rain-making machine, watering itself in a never-ending cycle. But for the chick of the harpy eagle, this rain is a deadly threat. If it becomes soaked, it can lose body heat rapidly and die. Its mother must use her own body as a living umbrella to shield her only child. Even for the world's most powerful eagle, these are perilous moments. These rains transform the Amazon. They cause the rivers to swell in ways that defy imagination. The Amazon River and its countless tributaries are no longer confined to their banks. They begin to invade. Water rises and seeps into the forest. First, it floods the lowest areas. Then, it climbs higher, spreads farther. This isn't an ordinary flood. This is a planetary transformation. The entire landscape becomes an amphibious world, half water, half forest. The pheromone trails of leafcutter ants are washed away. Their highly organized society begins to unravel. They become disoriented. And things are about to get much worse. As the floodwaters continue to rise, they submerge the entrances to countless ant nests. For the forest's greatest harvesters, the wet season is nothing short of a catastrophe. At the height of the flood, nearly 250,000 square kilometers of forest were submerged, an area 3 times the size of Austria. The transformation was absolute. Where just months ago, birds perched on branches and agoutis searched for nuts, now lies a vast world of water. The floodwaters can rise up to 10 to 15 meters and reach as far as 20 kilometers inland. The terrestrial world temporarily disappears. And a new world, with new rules and new inhabitants, rises from the water. Beneath the murky, plankton-filled surface, schools of small fish move into the flooded forest. They discover a new paradise. The forest floor, once the domain of ants carrying heavy loads, is now their home, with countless hiding spots among the decaying leaves. But where there is opportunity, there is also deception. At the peak of the flooded forest, known as the Várzea, is no safe haven. For in its deep waters, a monster lurks, the true ruler of the Amazon's watery world. This is the pirarucu, also known as the arapaima, the largest freshwater fish in the Amazon, and one of the largest freshwater fish on Earth. It can grow up to 3 meters long and weigh over 200 kilograms. The pirarucu is a strange giant, a living fossil. Every 10 to 15 minutes, it must rise to the surface to do something most fish never need to: breathe air. It possesses a modified swim bladder that functions like a primitive lung. This adaptation allows it to thrive in the warm, oxygen-poor waters of the flooded forest, where many other fish struggle to survive. It belongs to an ancient family of fish that have stalked and terrorized their prey since the age of the dinosaurs. As it moves silently through the flooded forest, it brings with it an eerie calm. Every smaller creature knows to stay out of its way, but the pirarucu has a relative, another dinosaur fish, that haunts this underwater world. It targets small creatures trapped on the trunks and branches of flooded trees. Insects, spiders, lizards, even small birds. Measuring around 1 meter in length, the arowana, also known as the dragonfish, is smaller than the pirarucu, but no less fearsome. The flood has brought it closer to the treetop world, closer to its prey. It can glide just beneath the overhanging branches, its large eyes constantly scanning upward, searching for the slightest movement. Its life, like that of every other creature here, is shaped by unseen battles and silent alliances of the forest. We began this journey with the image of a battle, but when we look deeper, what do we see? Yes, there is fierce competition, there is venom, there is deception. But we also see cooperation on a scale beyond imagination. Trees and agoutis, ants and fungi, sloths and algae, trees and fish. No creature here exists in isolation. All are part of a dizzyingly complex web of life. And every thread in this web, no matter how small, matters. If you cut just one strand, say the orchid bee, an entire section of the tapestry may collapse. For millions of years, the Amazon's symphony has played itself, self-tuned, self-balanced. But today, that symphony is under threat from a new force, an intelligent primate that has grown too fast, humans. Deforestation, climate change, and pollution are snapping the delicate threads we've just glimpsed. When we lose a species, we're not just losing an animal. We're losing a unique set of genes, a collection of survival strategies, a vital link in the web. We're erasing answers to questions we don't even know how to ask yet. Understanding the invisible battle of the Amazon isn't just a lesson in biology. It's a lesson in humility. It reminds us that we are part of something much larger, more complex, and far older than ourselves. And protecting it isn't just about saving cute animals or majestic trees. It's about preserving the very complexity of life, protecting a library of evolutionary knowledge written over millions of years. Thank you for joining me in uncovering the secrets of the Amazon. If you found this video enlightening, please like, share, and subscribe to Nature Realm, the Animal World, to discover more of our planet's wonders. And let us know in the comments, which creature's story left the biggest impression on you?